Well, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to do one of my favorite berry pies. I had an aunt who always brought a pie similar to this to any family get-together. And she lived to be 109, and before she passed away, I was able to kind of find out how she made it, and then I just varied it a little bit to use the fruits that we have in season. I grew up in Oregon, and so in the Willamette Valley we always had lots of marionberries, and so she usually would make it with marionberries. Before those were available, it was made with boysenberries. So what I do here now in the winter is I buy the triple berry mix. So I have a combination here of blueberries, blackberries, and raspberries. And I started with frozen berries today. So I just put 5 cups of berries in, frozen berries in here, and then added 2/3 of a cup of sugar. One of the things I find is that a lot of times with our pies, we put so much sugar in, you hardly taste the fruit. So I tend to go a little lighter on the sugar, just because we're all trying to, or we should be trying to reduce the amount of sugar that we eat, and that just helps to bring out the taste of the fruit. The unique thing about this pie is that it's made with fresh fruit, and by putting sugar on the fruit and letting it stand, then the juices come out of the fruit, and then you can thicken the juices and add them back to the fruit, so that you basically have a fresh fruit pie without that looks like a cooked fruit pie, but it tastes like a fresh fruit pie, if that makes sense. So what I did was about 3 hours ago, I put the 2/3 of a cup of sugar on here, and then and let it thaw, and so the berries have thawed. When you do it with fresh fruit, you just add the sugar to the fresh fruit, and then it takes about 45 minutes for an hour for the fruit to start to juice, and then it gets very juicy, and then you can take and drain off the juices. So here I'm going to, you put this into a sieve or a colander, but I'm going to just pour it out through the bowl, because these silicone bowls will just kind of fold up to drain things off. So we'll pour out as much juice as wants to come off. And I'm just going to kind of reshuffle it here. See if I can get a little bit more off. And then we're going to add cornstarch to this to thicken it. With fruit pies, usually if you're using a 2-crust pie, they use flour in them. But when you're doing a 1-crust, or where it's going to be a glaze that you're going to look at, then it's more often that we use cornstarch with it. So that's what we'll use today. Let me just wipe up my drips there. And so I have 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and I'll just add that to this is like a sweetened juice then that I'm putting in here. Just stir that in until it's well blended. And usually with my fruit pies, I like to add just a touch of cinnamon to it. So I have cinnamon, so I'm just going to put a little bit of less than 1/8 of a teaspoon, just kind of a shake of it. And I just find, I think when I started cooking, I started using a Betty Crocker cookbook, and they added a little cinnamon to the fruit pies, and I just thought it really enhanced the fruit flavor. So I just want to get most of the lumps out of it, so I'm just pressing those against the side. A lot of times with cornstarch, you'll add it to sugar, and then it will blend in more easily, but here the sugar is already in the juice, so it blends in pretty well, but I just need to kind of press it against the side to get it to dissolve. Then I'm going to just put it into the microwave oven, and it'll take about 2 to 3 minutes for that to boil, and I want to stir it once during the cooking time here. So let me get this. Just push a minute plus twice in this oven, and that gives me 2 minutes. Sometimes you have like a 30-minute button, so if you have that, then you have to press it 4 times to get your 2 minutes. So with cornstarch mixtures, it's good to stir it partway through. Otherwise, what happens when you're microwaving is that the cornstarch will sink to the bottom of the cup, and then it'll get very thick, and it'll be lumpy, and it's harder to mix it in. So I'll let this cook for about a minute, and then we'll stir it, and then continue on. Now, if I had just baked my pastry shell so that the oven was hot, I could still put the cup in right away because the cup is silicone and so it'll withstand the heat. If I had a plastic cup or something like that, then I would use something like the silicone hot pad underneath it so that it wouldn't soften from the heat that's in the turntable dish. This stirring now also just helps to finish dissolving any of the lumps that were there. When you stop your oven, the microwaves turn off. Sometimes people are concerned about opening the door of the oven, but once the oven stops, once the door is open, the oven stops, and so that you don't have to be concerned about microwaves coming out when you open the door. And this will be finished in just a little bit. So what my aunt did was she would use marionberries. She'd get fresh marionberries and she would put sugar on them and then let them stand for about 45 minutes to an hour. And during that time then they would juice up so that she could drain the juices and then thicken them the same way. So in the winter I don't buy a lot of fresh fruit to use in pies. So here I buy the triple berry, which is sold a lot for smoothies, but it makes a nice berry pie too. And so that I just, as that thaws, the sugar is on there and then it forms the juice. So this is boiling now. And the time is just up. It has 1 second left, so we'll just call that good. And let me just, it's a little bit hot. Amazing, since it's boiling. But you can see that it is thickened. It's almost like jam, the way that it's thickened up. So what I'm going to do is to just put that onto my fruit. You can see the fruit in here. There's still quite a bit of juice. In fact, I think I'll just drain a little bit more of this into this. And then it'll be a little bit thinner when it goes on. It'll blend in a little more easily. So I blend that in so that it's smooth. And then just put this into the fruit. And you can see the fruit is still fresh. It hasn't been cooked, but the filling has been cooked and thickened so that it'll be like a fruit pie, but it'll have a fresh taste to it. This is similar to what they do a lot of times when they do a fruit glaze on top of a cheesecake or on top of a cream pie. So then I just kind of fold this around so that it coats all of the fruit. And the fruit is still cold, so it's going to cool down that hot filling really fast. And then I have a baked pastry shell here. And so this is our baked pastry shell. And if you need help in making the pastry shell, I have another video that you can watch to prepare that. And so then just empty the fruit into the pie shell. And then just spread it out a little bit. And I like to not make it real flat. It'll be a little more attractive. And you can sometimes you can take Cool Whip or whipped cream and just put it all over the top, or you can just individually put on the Cool Whip or whipped cream when you go to serve it. But this is what your pie looks like, and we're going to let this set a little bit because it needs to cool down so that I can cut it into a piece, and then we'll cut a piece and put it on a plate and have it all ready to serve. So we're back, and our pie is all chilled. I had it in the refrigerator about an hour, and so we're going to just cut a piece so you can see how it is to serve it. So I'll just go ahead and, usually when I cut pie, I cut it all the way across. So, and then I'll just cut a wedge here so that we can see what a piece is like when we pull it out. I usually like to use a wedge-shaped spatula to, I think I need to cut it a little bit more over here. It doesn't feel like it's quite loose. A wedge-shaped spatula will just go underneath. Not sure it's still all the way loose, but, and then just put it onto your plate. And here's the pie here. And so we'll just put a dollop of whipped cream on the top. And these silicone measuring cups are really nice to whip cream in. I just put a little powdered sugar with it, and it's all set to go. So here's our pie, piece of pie, and then here's the whole pie. So guten Appetit. See you down the road. Be sure to subscribe and press like. Thanks so much.